Welcome back. This is Closing Trades. Let's take note of the GST revenue collections. And for the month of February, it stands at about 85,175 crore rupees. In terms of how this would really stack up vis-a-vis what we were expecting, remember in the month of November, you had a total of about 24,000 crores, and the expectation was that we would see the GST overall revenue mop up come for 2018-19 grow by about 14 to 15%. Remember, there was speculation in the terms of the overall GST collection target for them being overly aggressive. And let's take it across to Tushar, my colleague, who joins in with the latest. And looking at the revenue collections at 85,000 crore rupees, Tushar, give us a sense as to what exactly has been the overall breakup.
Yeah, as far as the government's collections for returns are filed up to the 20th of the succeeding month, the total revenue has come at around 85,174 crore, out of which 14,945 crore is the share of the central GST. Now, this is marginally lower when we compare to collections of the month of January, which came out at 86,000 crore. As far as taxpayers is concerned, the government has sort of been able to register 1.05 crore rather taxpayers under the GST, out of which 18.17 lakh are composition dealers. Talking about the number of returns, 59.15 lakh returns have been signed for February till 25th of March, and which sort of represents 69% of total taxpayers who are supposed to file returns on a monthly basis. So while this figure is released provisionally, this number usually go up as we go forward, as number of rate filers also join the bandwagon. But as far as the revenue buoyancy of the government, of the GST figures is concerned, the government will be a little bit disappointed given the fact of the marginal fall. But remember, from April 1st, we are going to have big anti-evasion measure, which is the e-way bill for interstate movement of goods in place. We'll have to see how the revenues play out post the implementation of the e-way bill.
Oh yes, it was expected that we would have seen perhaps a higher collection versus what we witnessed in the month of January, but the total number has come in this time around at about 85,174 crore rupees. In fact, let's bring on board a guest to talk a little bit more about this in greater detail about these numbers. We have Sandeep Chilana, who is now joining in from Shardul Amarchand Mangaldas. Thanks very much for being with us, Sandeep. How are you reacting to a number for for the February to March collections at about 85,174 crore rupees, with the rollout of the e-way bills getting deferred, as well as the kind of shortfall that we've seen in the monthly returns being submitted? How have you looked at this number?
Hi, good afternoon. So, the total revenue collection has not changed substantially from the last month. Last month, we were somewhere around 86,000. This month, I understand we are around at 85,000. And consistently for last few months, we have stayed in the same range, and the revenue buoyancy has not really changed. Primarily for the reason that till date, the government has not implemented the e-way bill, which has allowed some of the players to not pay their taxes properly. One of the reasons still continues to be the difficulties with respect to filing the return, etc. But I believe that is not one of the bigger concern which is keeping the revenue lows. One of the bigger concern only is not having the e-way bill provisions in place, which should come in effect from 1st of April now. And I think it is at that point in time that the revenue should actually start increasing and reaching the 90,000 crore mark. The other important aspect here is that if you'll see in the last month or so, the tax authorities have become very active as far as the anti-evasion mechanisms are concerned, and you would hear that the notices have been issued to the builders or to the telcos with respect to incorrect credit claims. And as and when these disputes are resolved or the demands are raised on the companies with respect to incorrect credit demands, obviously the tax collection is expected to go up. So at this stage, I don't see much different from where we were. But in the coming months, I am surely expecting that the revenue should go up and reach 90,000 crore mark.
Okay, let's also get in Uday Pimprikar, who now joins in from EY India. And Uday, is that the sense that you're getting that Sandeep was talking about, that despite the fact that we've seen a lower collection this time around for the month of February, we would see collections pick up gradually and even hit the 1 lakh crore mark?
So let us look at the numbers again, right? I mean, a couple of things I think we should take note of. The government has released has released a news release last week, end of last week and early this week, wherein they basically suggested three things. One is that while the earlier collection numbers were indicative of what is the amount that has been collected till the due date of filing, okay, the subsequent data suggested, or the data related to collections post the due date amounted to about another couple of thousand, of 2,000 to 3,000 crores. Okay, so that is one. So to my mind, the same trend should continue now. So the today's 85,000 should kind of amount to around 88, 89,000. So that is one. The second bit is that the filing at present is of people who are not into composition scheme. There are about 1.7 million assessees who have opted for composition scheme. Basically, people who have turnover from 2 million to around 5 to 6 million. So with those guys are going to go ahead and do a quarterly filing and payment, and assuming, and that particular rate of taxes is around 1%, that amount should anyway be another few thousands of crores, and that amount is going to get collected only in April. Okay, so on an overall basis, I think, to my mind, the numbers that we are seeing right now, that we should expect a delta of, on a monthly average, of around 5,000 to 6,000 crores over and above what we are collecting. And so if you take it on a holistic basis, the collection is not as bad as it seems right now too. Okay. Of course, there is some amount of incremental, there is another element out there, which is the credit overhang of the transitional credits that have got collated. And to my mind, that overhang will continue for some time, maybe for the next couple of months. But if you normalize all of these aspects, then I think we should expect anyway that there will be some amount of fill up on the revenue items. I'm not personally so. I mean, the fact is that of course the government will need to start administering slightly better, try to be more targeted on maybe possibly collection of taxes to see where is revenue getting lost. The government's ability right now to identify where problems are is obviously much higher. I personally am not so kicked up about the e-way bill as a mechanism.
Right, just request you to stay on with us. So there we have Mervyn Godino, the Goa GST Council as well, now joining us to talk a little bit more about the February GST numbers. And, you know, from the experts that we've been speaking to, the assessment is that this time around there has been a little bit of a disappointment in the number that has come in. What would that really be attributed to at about 85,174 crores?
You see, in the last council meeting, we were very much seized of various problems, various difficulties faced as against the collection and expected revenue to the exchequer of the country. And at that point of time, there were many gray areas where we found work had to be done. And in many such places, it was like work in progress. You cannot immediately act, and you cannot get those sort of figures. And for reasons known to everyone, e-way bill, making it operational, was one of the key to shoring up the revenues. All this, I would say, is an advanced stage of work in progress and progressing fast. So one really cannot get so disappointed over the figures. Yes, if you look at the figures, money-wise and as to the shortfall, yes, one would definitely feel a little disappointed, but I think it is going to pick up very soon once our people get in the field and start working on those gray areas.
Okay, grey areas will be looked into and then we could see some sort of a pickup. But sir, would there be any more clarity in terms of how many taxpayers are required to file their monthly returns? We understood that till February 25th, about 69% of the total taxpayers filed their GST R3B returns. Is there any more clarity on that number, and could we see it going up?
Yeah, certainly. We need these figures to go up, and we are looking into the reasons as well as the shortcomings that we would be able to address. So there lies the catch actually in shoring up not only the number of people filing to increase, but the overall buoyancy in the revenue is bound to be there given a certain period of time. See, these are ultimately this is ultimately a transitional phase which has not exactly worked ideally to a very high level of satisfaction. But I think since we are working on different areas where we have identified, I don't want to specify them, and I think you will see automatically the number of people or the filings increasing, as well as more revenue accruing after action really follows on the ground.
Okay, so you're saying a lot more action needs to be done. Some of the grey areas need to be looked into. But, you know, some of the experts that we were speaking to also alluded this to, you know, the filing of people with respect to the two composition schemes, and that a lot of the people do it via the quarterly filing. Would that be a reason as to why we're seeing this kind of a number?
That certainly is a number, and if you know, that is a concession which we have given our traders or our people who file these returns quarterly, and very consciously we knew that this could lead to some sort of a little drop. Of course, we did not expect it to drop or the shortfall to be to the extent it is, but in due course of time, I think corrections will automatically follow and you will see things picking up.
All right, we'll let you go on that note. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in and giving us your views on the February GST revenue mop-up. Bhavna Doshi now joins in from KPMG India. And Bhavna, we were just speaking with the GST Council member in Goa, and you know, he was saying that yes, we have seen a number that's been marginally lower than January because there are a few grey areas that need to be worked on. And once that is, we can see an incremental pickup. Is that something that you would concur with? How are you reading into 85,174 crores?
Yes, I would agree with that because, of course, the number is little lower than what it was. So as we see month on month, we find there is little reduction month on month in collection. Not so significant, but some reduction. And I guess there are still several areas where there is clarity is required. Also, the network issues are still there. People have challenges. And therefore, what I feel, what generally the department is doing is taking a very aggressive stand in some of the areas. I would rather think that if they were to take up a drive where they reach out to the people who have not filed the returns and discuss with them as to what are the challenges that they are facing, why they have not been able to file the returns, and even those who have filed the returns, whether they face any challenges and whether those can be helped. You know, whether there could be some measures by which they could be helped or facilitated in compliance. Clarity on some of the issues or what position they should take, because some cases people are not really able to put through a transaction because they don't know what to do and how to go about it, or do just a simple, do the transactions which are very clear. So I guess much more work is required, and of course analysis of data which is available with them and which they are currently doing to identify sectors where they feel that there is a gap, So what they call as a, what is the expected collection and actual collection. So the revenue gap, identify the gap and then work on it. That would also help, certainly. Of course, the measures that GST Council has been talking about, the e-way bill and others, but that will also take time to settle down.
Yep, a lot needs to be looked into, and Ms. Doshi would have loved to chat with you a little bit more, but I'm afraid we're completely out of time. So with an eye on the clock then, would like to thank all of our guests for joining in and giving us their expert views on the GST mop-up. Yes, it has been lower for the month of February than what we witnessed last time around. A lot of grey areas, work in progress, things will be looked into, and hopefully we should see a pick up. On that note, it's completely out of time. Markets tomorrow coming up after a short break.